Yeah. Hello, friends. Uh, Hello, students. So, in today's class, we are going to learn about genetics. So, before starting with the class, we should know what genetic mean or what is gene mean. Gene is basically give you a character. Everyone have gene, and because of the gene, we have a character, right? So, because of the gene, we have a variation. So, accumulation of variation during reproduction, right? So during reproduction, and especially during the sexual reproduction, we have variation. Now, what is variation? So variation may be defined as the difference in the character shown by individual of a species and also by the offspring. Means like, let's take an example of human. We all are human, right? But we all are different. We all have different color, different eye color, different hair texture, different height. So that is the variation, right? So variation play important role in species formation. Depending on the nature of variation, different individual would have a different kind of advantage, right? So every living being or every living organism have the variation. So this variation basically depend upon the so this variation basically depend upon the number of the gene or the gene character, and because of the variation we able to survive in this change in the environment, be able to live, be able to cooperate. Okay, yeah, let me erase this. And this variation is passed from generation to generation, and because of this variation there is an evolutionary process. We evolve with the time. There, see how we have evolved with the time because of the environmental factor. Before, maybe the condition was not same as it is today. So before it was very different, and now it's very different. We have a very high temperature, very cold environment, right? So with the time we have changed, our gene have changed, and we evolve with the time. Means we have changed ourselves so that we can adapt to this change in the environment. So that is the evolutionary process. We have evolved with the environment. Next is the yeah, just give me a minute. Next is the heredity and the variation. Now, what is heredity? Heredity means passing the gene from one generation to the next generation, right? So, like, you must have got some character from your mother or from your father, right? Your mom and father have got some character from their parent, right? So, that is the passing of the gene from one generation to the next generation. So, that is the heredity. So, heredity or inheritance are those characters that are transmitted from generation to generation and fixed for a particular individual. So, the rule of heredity determines the process by which trait and the characteristics are reliably inherited. Let's so you can see the example here. So there are example of lobed ear and lobeless ear, right? So in some individual you will see they have a lobed ear, and some individual they have a lobeless ear, right? Attached or free, so we'll say lobed ear or lobeless ear. So free and attached earlobe are two variation found in human population, right? So this type of variation you will see only in the human population. Okay, next is inherit traits. Now, what is inherit traits? So, inherit traits, these are the character transmitted from parent to the offspring, right? So, inherit traits is genetically determine the character that distinguish a person. Like I told you, we all are human, right? But we all are different because we all have a different genetic character. We all have a unique DNA. So these have effect on known somatic cells that pass from one generation to the next generation, and these are anything. I mean, it can be any character: your eye color, your hair color, your skin color, your height, even your blood group. That is also the inherit character. Now, the rules for the inheritance of trait Mendel contributes. So George Mendel, so he is also known as father of genetics. So he was the person who proposed the theory of inheritance. So he done the experiment, and behalf of his experiment, he came to a conclusion that the character is passed from one generation to the next generation. So he performed his experiment on garden pea. Why he used garden pea? Why he didn't use any other plant? Because first of all, it has a very short life cycle, so that he can see the result in a very short period of time. And uh, in the garden pea, he saw a lot of character. So that is why he chose garden pea, and formulated the law of genetics, which explain the manner of inheritance of character. So his paper, Experiment on Plant Hybridization, was published on the fourth volume of Annual Proceeding of National History of Society in 1886. So, because he done the experiment on genetics, he was the first person who gave this idea that the gene or the character have been passed from generation to generation. So, whatever the work we are doing right now on genetics, we are just following his footstep, because he has managed, or filed each and everything. So we are just using his concept, which is very good for us, right? Okay, next is monohybrid cross. So because he took a garden pea and he done an experiment on the garden pea. So what is monohybrid cross? Mono means one. So one character he crossed, means hybrid means the cross between the two different organism, right? So monohybrid cross, it is a cross made to study stimulus inheritance of a single pair of Mendelian factor. In another word, you can say that the cross in which only one alternative form of single character are taken into the consideration. So means mono means, I told you one, hybrid means crossing the two. So he took only one character to study. So in monohybrid cross, Mendel obtained 3 raised to 1, you know, uh, character, means 3 raised to 1 ratio. So that means 3 tall and 1 dwarf phenotype ratio. Now, what is phenotypic? These are some terms that we should know when we are learning about genetics. What is phenotype? Phenotype means physical character. Physical character means tall or a dwarf plant. So that is the physical character. Okay, this is what he observed. So what he has done in his experiment, he took a garden pea. Okay, so when he done his experiment, he was so surprised to see the character, because he thought that when he crossed the tall plant and a short plant, the result will be intermediate plant, means not too short, not too tall. This is what he thought, that I will get the intermediate plant in the mm, in the first cross. So, but he was so surprised to see the result. He saw that after the crossing between the tall plant and a short plant, he got all tall plants. So he was so surprised to see that, why all tall plants? So why no medium plant? So all plant were tall. So this means that only one parent trait was seen, right? Because one parent was tall and another parent was short. So he thought that only one parent character was seen, right? So the question were the tall plant in the F1 generation exactly the same as the plant of the parent generation, right? This is the F1 generation. So this plant was same as the parent generation, which is having the tall plant character. So now what he has done, because he was surprised to see this result, so he done another test. So what he has done, he has done the self pollination or self crossing. So self crossing means he took this plant and done the self crossing. So when he has done the self crossing, again he was surprised to see the result. So what result he saw? He saw that, let me just erase this. He saw that out of four, three plants were tall and one plant was short. So again he was surprised to see that why one plant is short and three plants are tall. Oh sorry, three plants are tall and one plant is short, right? So Mendeleev, Mendelian experiment test by getting both the parental plant and the F1 plant, tall plant, right, to produce by self pollination. Now the progeny of the parental plant are, all tall. So the next generation, in the F2 generation, right? So in the F2 generation, what he observed, the progeny of the F1 plant, that is the tall plant, are not all tall, right? So he, in the F2 generation, he saw not all the plant were tall. So instead, one quarter of them are short, right? So this indicates that both the tallness and the shortness trait were inherited in the F1 plant, means in the F1 generation. Here, both the tall gene and the short trait are was present in the F1 generation, but only the tallness trait were expressed. So, two copy of the traits are inherited in each sexual reproductive organism. So these two may be identical or may be different depending upon the progeny. So, so this was the result that he got. So he has done the experiment to find out the inherit character. So let me explain you, let me just brief you out. So in the parental generation, he took the tall plant and the short plant and he got the tall plant, okay, in the F1 generation. So he was surprised to see this result. So what he has done the self pollination in the F1 generation. So when he done the self pollination, he got all the uh, when he done the self pollination in the F2 generation, he got three tall plant and one short plant. So when he saw the result in the F2 generation, he was confirmed that the tall character was there as well as the short character, I mean the dwarf character was also present in the plant, but it expressed in the F2 generation. Okay, yeah. So that was the Mendeleev experiment, and that is the monohybrid cross. So what we do in the monohybrid cross, we take only one character. Now there is a dihybrid cross. So dihybrid cross means two character. We take two character and we cross between the two characters. So dihybrid. So the Mendel performed crosses involving two character at a time. So a dihybrid cross is a cross made to study the inheritance of two pair of Mendelian factor of gene. So the cross between P variant variety having yellow cotyledon and a round seeds with another variant having a green cotyledon and wrinkle seeds. So you can see here he took two characters, right? So one uh, one parent has a character of yellow cotyledon and a round seed, and another have a green cotyledon and wrinkle seed. So the classical example of dihybrid cross given in the will do in the next slide. So this is about the dihybrid cross. So what he has done, the plant with yellow and round seed pure were crossed with those having green and wrinkled seed. So in the F1, the seed were yellow and round. And when these F1 seed were grown into plant, the F2 seed obtained and showed all the four combination, okay, of the phenotype. That is the yellow and round seeds are 9, yellow and wrinkled seeds 3, green and round 3, green and wrinkled 1. So this is what he got the result when he has done the dihybrid cross. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.